something to put your
I'll be more than glad to. I'll put my number in the chat box. Yes.
And I will do the same. Thank you so much.
I'm sorry for interrupting everyone. I just got very
Yes.
excited when I saw Gwen.
It was very exciting to see you. Thank you.
No problem. So Alawabha, dear friends. Welcome to the Sunday morning devotional program sponsored by the Spiritual Assemblies of the Baha'is of South DeKalb County and Sandy Springs, Georgia. It's wonderful to have all of you with us today. Across the globe, the teachings of the Baha'i faith, brought to us more than 150 years ago by His Holiness Baha'u'llah, its founder, whose name in Arabic means the glory of God, have inspired and continue to inspire individuals and communities as they strive to improve their own lives and contribute to the advancement of civilization. Baha'i beliefs address such essential themes as the oneness of God and religion, the oneness of humanity, and freedom from all forms of prejudice, the inherent nobility of the human being, the progressive revelation of religious truth, a gradual unfolding of God's purpose with the appearance of each divine teacher, the development of spiritual qualities, which allow us to reflect the image that God made us in, the integration of worship and service, with work performed in the spirit of service actually being accounted as worship in the eyes of God, the fundamental equality of the sexes more widely evidenced in a setting of equal opportunity, the harmony between religion and science as an established fact, the centrality of justice in all human endeavor, the importance of education, particularly for children, and the dynamics of the relationships that bind together individuals, communities, and institutions as humanity advances towards its collective maturity. Again, welcome. We're pleased to have all of you join us. We'll begin with the opening devotions. Please mute yourself if you are not speaking, and silence your electronic devices if you are speaking. Thank you. And for those who are new readers, I'll call on you when it's your turn. Gwen.
Oh my God, oh my Lord, oh my Master, I beg thee to forgive me for seeking any pleasure save thy love, or any comfort except thy nearness, or any delight besides thy good pleasure, or any existence other than commune with thee. His Holiness the Bab.
Ernest.
Say God sufficient, all things, above all things, and nothing in the heaven or in the earth, but God sufficient. Very he is in himself the knower, the sustainer, the omnipotent, the Bob.
Shide.
My God, whom I worship and adore, I bear witness unto thy unity and unto thy oneness, and acknowledge thy gifts, both in the past and in the present. Thou art the all-bountiful, the overflowing showers of whose mercy have rained down upon high and low alike, and the splendors of whose grace have been shed over both the obedient and the rebellious. O God of mercy, before whose door the quintessence of mercy hath bowed down, and round the sanctuary of whose cause loving kindness in its inmost spirit hath circled, we beseech thee, entreating thy ancient grace and seeking thy present favor, that thou mayest have mercy upon all who are manifestations of the world of being, and deny them not, the outpourings of thy grace in thy days. All are but poor and needy, and thou verily art the all possessing, the all subduing, the all powerful. Baha'u'llah.
Yasmin.
O my God, unite the hearts of thy servants and reveal to them thy great purpose. May they follow thy commandments and abide in thy law. Help them, O God, in their endeavor, and grant them strength to serve thee. O God, leave them not to themselves, but guide their steps by the light of thy knowledge, and cheer their hearts by thy love. Verily, thou art their helper and their Lord. Baha'u'llah.
Elizabeth.
Thou seest, O my God, thou seest me in my lowliness and weakness, occupied with the greatest undertaking, determined to raise thy word among the masses and to spread thy teachings among the peoples. How can I succeed unless thou assist me with the breath of the Holy Spirit? Help me to triumph by the host of thy glorious kingdom, and shower upon me thy confirmations, which alone can change a gnat into an eagle, a drop of water into rivers and seas, and an atom into lights and suns. O my Lord, assist me with thy triumphant and effective might, so that my tongue may utter thy praises and attributes among all people, and my soul overflow with the wine of thy love and knowledge. Thou art the omnipotent and the doer of whatsoever thou willest. Abdul Baha.
Dungting.
O my brother, hearken to the delightsome words of my honey tongue, and quaff the string of mystic holiness from my sugar-shedding lips. Sow the seeds of my divine wisdom in the pure soil of thy heart, and water them with the water of certitude, that they, accents of my knowledge and wisdom, may spring up fresh and green in the sacred city of thy heart. Baha'u'llah, the hidden words.
Matthew.
Justice is in this day bewailing its plight. Inequity groaneth beneath the yoke of oppression. The thick clouds of tyranny have darkened the face of the earth and enveloped its peoples. Through the movement of our pen of glory, we have, at the bidding of the omnipotent ordainer, breathed a new life into every human frame and instilled into every word a fresh potency. All created things proclaim the evidences of this worldwide regeneration. This is the most great, the most joyful tidings, imparted by the pen of this wronged one to mankind. Wherefore fear ye, O my well-beloved ones. Who is it that can dismay you? A touch of moisture sufficeth to dissolve the hardened clay out of which this perverse generation is molded. The mere act of your gathering together is enough to scatter the forces of these vain and worthless people. Baha'u'llah.
Miriam.
When you love a member of your family or a compatriot, let it be with the ray of the infinite love. Let it be in God and for God. Wherever you find the attributes of God, love that person, whether he be of your family or of another. Shed the light of a boundless love, and every man being whom you meet, whether of your country, your race, your political party, or of any other nation, color or shade of political opinion. Heaven will support you while you work in this ingathering of the scattered peoples of the world, beneath the shadow of the almighty tent of unity. Abdul Baha, Paris Talks.
To discriminate against any race on the grounds of its being socially backward, politically immature, and numerically in a minority is a flagrant violation of the spirit that animates the faith of Baha'u'llah. The consciousness of any division or cleavage in its ranks is alien to its very purpose, principles, and ideals. Once its members have fully recognized the claim of its author, and by identifying themselves with its administrative order, accepted unreservedly the principles and laws embodied in its teachings, every differentiation of class, creed, or color must automatically be obliterated and never be allowed under any pretext, and however great the pressure of events or public opinion, to reassert itself. Thank you to all today's readers. Next, we're going to listen to a healing prayer. If any of you wish to remember a loved one through this prayer for healing, please feel free to call up their name at this time.
Josie Reynolds.
Mansur Sokhani.
Thy name is my healing, oh my God, and remembrance of thee is my remedy. Nearness to thee is my hope, and love for thee is my companion. Thy mercy to me is my healing, and my succor in both this world and the worlds to come. Thou verily art the all bountiful, the all knowing, the Almighty. all holy, be all wise, be all glory, be all wise.
Nice.
And now we're blessed to have a musical offering.
September 77, Port Elizabeth weather fine. It was business as usual in police room 619. Oh, be cool, because be cool. Oh, be cool, because Jeremiah,
Friends, every week we're blessed to have a guest presenter share with us their insights on a particular topic. This week, we're honored to have with us Dr. Ruha Sobhani. Dr. Sobhani was born in Iran and has lived on 4 continents. She earned her Bachelor of Science degree in Education and Psychology while studying poetry and theater. She won 2 gold medals for reciting poetry in Iran. Later, she studied sociology at Yaoundé University in Cameroon. After leaving Africa and traveling through Europe, she arrived in New York, where she completed a master's degree in counseling from Hunter College, studying the impact of spiritual guidance on family life. After moving to Atlanta, she got back to her art and began to work on plays and the production of her poetry CD, Beyond Words. Later, she completed a doctoral degree in globalization and cultural competence. Friends, please welcome Dr. Ruha Sobhani.
Good morning. Good morning. Still morning. So delighted to be here. Thank you so much for inviting me back. I'm very honored. Stephen, is it possible you make me co-host so I can go back and forth sharing the screen?
Let's see, Barbara will have to do that, I think. I don't think I
Okay.
have that one. Let me see real quick.
All right. So also I want to tell you how much I appreciate the feedbacks, your kind calls. I'm so glad you're interested in this type of history and the reflection on the impacts of it on our life. Today, Barbara, let me know when I can.
You are a co-host now.
Very well. So friends, I go back and forth because sometimes I want to show you some pictures, but I also like we look at each other's and not the screen. Is that okay with everyone?
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. And do you see my screen?
Not yet.
Okay.
Not yet?
Mm-mm. Have you hit the share screen button?
I did. Let me go back again and said stop a screen. Right, I'll go back and do this.
Now it's showing up.
Is let me see if I can. Wow. All right, now that's not the one. Be patient so I can go back to my drive and see if I can. Stephen, give me a sign if you see it.
Yeah, we're seeing everything right now, no problem. We're on the call to action screen.
So I titled the talk today and our conversation today, Call to Action. I was inspired by the message of the National Spiritual Assembly of United States on June 3rd for the feast. Friends, remember that I shared with you previously, or even if you weren't at that session, it was the desire of Abdul Baha to and sent per his instruction, Dr. Khairullah Ibrahim to United States to spread the message of Baha'u'llah. He came to New York, went to Chicago, start some classes and sessions, and Dr. Kissinger, and then later on Lua Kissingers and Turton Chase and others, they joined him. And it was Lua and Dr. Kissinger who took interest in Phoebe Hertz, and Phoebe Hertz became Baha'i, and she had a butler named Robert Turner, and Robert Turner was the first African-American Baha'i who became a Baha'i and believed in Baha'u'llah. At that time, when Phoebe Hertz became a Baha'i, she arranged a meeting. Her meeting was in a way that she arranged some friends to go and to visit the Abdul Baha in Haifa. The message of National Spiritual Assembly starts from that point of view, that it was over 100 years ago that as United States mark a turning of a century, also a group of the friends of the Baha'is were on their first pilgrimage trip to go to Haifa through Europe. They didn't have an 8 hours flight like we do. For a couple of months, they went through Paris and others. They went to Haifa, and then they took a short trip. They went to Akka to see the master, the Abdul Baha. The impact of this trip on these individuals was lifelong, was lifetime inspired others, many stories, because Abdul Baha kept in touch with them. So the message says that how they embraced this trip and how Abdul Baha, after some years, these meetings, after a few years, in 1912, Abdul Baha came to United States after that meeting, right? So when Abdul Baha arrived in New York, and the group of the friends that he knew, and also the community of United States, especially New York City, were very embracive, because the newspapers were reporting, the churches were inviting, the different institutions were inviting Abdul Baha, and Abdul Baha was sharing with them the message and the comings of Baha'u'llah. However, something also was happening. The message indicates, although the master acknowledged the material attainment and the high ideals of the American nation and its people, affirming that the American have a special mission and a distinctive contribution to make in the world affairs. At the same time, he was uncompromising in asserting that this destiny would be founded on a far more profound basis than anybody of its citizen of the country was previously imagined. It would be a destiny propelled and inspired by the teaching of Baha'u'llah. The message says, throughout the remaining years of his ministry, the Abdul Baha patiently tried to, and he was helped his devoted American followers to see and face the challenges of purging themselves and their nation of the, look at the words national use, corrosive influence of materialism, moral corruption, and racial prejudice. Repeatedly, unequivocally, okay, we'll let go. He has stated that only by doing so would America be fitted to fulfill its special destiny. What was that destiny? What was that mission? Lead all nations spiritually. Lead all nations spiritually. And usher in the most great peace. However, Abdul Baha mentioned that the vital necessity, there are some elements for this, a vital necessity teaching African American and indigenous people groups that they have special capabilities that can fulfill this destiny. Repeat, the message quotes Baha'u'llah, that how Baha'u'llah has described the African American as a pupil of the eyes. And it says how the light, that it is surrounded by the white. In this black pupil, you will see the reflection of that which is before it, through it, the light of the Spirit shines forth. That is why. That is why they have this mission. And that's why it is necessary for them to be part of this fulfillment of the destiny. Although teaching message reminds us that although teachings is incumbent on everyone, but it is crucial that in particular the African American indigenous people of this country arise and take their rightful place at the forefront of this work. The message indicates that although we acknowledge the contribution of other immigrants and other friends, however, this is what is the assigned destiny for America. The service of this soul together with their African American and indigenous brothers and sisters will be instrumental to the growth and development of a truly, listen to this, just, inclusive, and unified society in this land. What does it need? Their success will depend on what? In part on the loving encouragement they initially receive from their fellow believers. So friends, this is the message that we received and entitled Call to Action. So Abdul Baha is in New York. Remember I told you about the Robert Turner. If I share with any one of you that if I ask who was the first African American gentleman, you all probably know the answer, right? I can see you nodding your head. You will say Robert Turner. If I ask you who was the first African American Baha'i woman, I hope you know. We have to pay honor to Olive Jackson. Robert Turner became Baha'i in 1898. Olive Jackson in 1899, New York City. So it was at this trip that Abdul Baha started his nurturing, fostering the message, especially and focused on the African American community. Today, I want to spend a few minutes, especially on the ladies, first ladies of African American, the way they embrace the faith and change the history and kind of set some guideline for other families, not only African American, but Baha'i community. Well, I love to go back to my screen, and I hope I still have the capability. Do you see it or no? No. Okay. Trying to share a screen. Okay. And do you see it?
No, not yet.
Not yet. Okay. Now I probably
Now we see it.
You will see me, but let's see if you can see this.
Yes, we can. Mm-hmm.
Thank you for guiding me on that one. All right. So this is a picture of some of the friends that embraced the faith during Abdullah, time of life of Abdullah, and some after, of course. You recognize many of them, I'm sure, right? We see Louis Gregory, we see Harriet, Dorothy, and I believe this is Mr. Dubois. Friends, However, the list and the record that we have from the friends for these years is amazing. Take a look with me. Look at this beautiful list. You see how in 1898 and 99 we have Robert Turner and Olive Jackson, and then we have recorded one in 1906, 1909. Something is happening now. Look at 1909, 1910, travel teachers, people are traveling. Martha Ruti traveling, Thornton Chase, everybody. And of course, the contribution of other friends. New York City, Washington, Virginia. Look at the Washington, D.C. Look at 1910. And then we go to 1913. And the list goes on. However, we want to spend a little time on Olive Jackson. Sad to say that we do not have much information on her. We don't know when she was born. We don't know when she died. And we don't know her place of place of birth. We even do not have the burial location yet. I always say yet. However, we know that she has been recorded in the Baha'i membership in 1899, and she listed her religion in the Bureau of Census and she was identified as a dressmaker. However, and the first North American Baha'i woman of African American descent. The important thing is that Olive Jackson's membership marked the beginning of a Black woman's participation in the upcoming religion movement. Jackson and the other ladies that I will mention briefly, two others, changed the scope of diversity of Black women's influence when they become member of a religion that place issues of race and gender at the core of its doctrine. Women from the first generations of the Baha'i adherents redefined Black womanhood in the context of spiritual principles designed to forge an organic unity among all people, to foster new venues for Black women righteous leaderships. Friends, look at this picture. How beautiful is these pictures in that time? You see the beautiful diversity that exists in this? We can see these radiant faces. Look at the love that exists in this picture. Look at the respect that comes from these pictures to touch us. I don't know why. Maybe you know, I feel this lady is Olive Jackson. I don't know why, but I'm sure Baha'u'llah will lead us through that. So I told you about the Olive Jackson. However, after that, when Abdul Baha was visiting the United States, there was other ladies that they became. Look at this is Harriet, Miss Harriet. Harriet Gibbs Marshall was born in 1868, died in 1941, became a Baha'i in 1912 while Abdul Baha was visiting US. Extremely educated woman for the time, studied piano, pipe organ, voice culture, and she was the first African American to complete the program and earn Bachelor of Music degree. In 1903, founded the Washington Conservatory of Music. According to blackpast.org, Marshall's Conservatory was a landmark in the history of Black education. The center sponsored regular concerts for the Black community and trained many prominent musical professional and attracted the nation's most talented musician as teachers. By the way, this Conservatory of Music was open till even 1960. Remember, I said she died in 1941. Even 19 years after her death, it was still open and serving. What a lady! How impressive. The other lady that I would love to mention, her name is this beautiful lady. Her name is Dorothy Champ. After joining the faith in 1919, Dorothy, who was born in 1893 and died 1974, went on to be lifelong lecturer. And she was the one who was going and talking about the faith and trying to especially share the message with other friends. What is significant about Dorothy is that she is the first African American elected to the local spiritual assembly of the Baha'i of New York City. So in that regards, we see that how these friends heard the call and arise. This is how Abdul Baha transferred his vision to action, and how these beautiful, amazing believers came. And we know that there are many, many families who at this time became a Baha'i. For example, many of you heard of Martin family, big family, that they had great contributions. Maybe at the time of question and answer, please share with me, share with all of us, if you remember other friends who made such contributions, and we should honor and hear and mention them. So I shared with you that's how we answered the call. I want to go to another part of the world. I want to go to Australia. And I want to share with you the first lady who embraced the faith. Many of you probably know who is that lady. Effie Baker. And shortly I will introduce her, and then I will share with you what was my special. I have a very special interest in that lady. I admire her a lot. So let me tell you about Miss Baker. When, as most of the world celebrates the new year, January 1st also commemorates the passing of someone special, Effie Baker. You see, she was a young, very young, when she was born in 1880, March 25th, in Goldsboro in Australia. She was a petite, but very energetic, blue eyes and brown hair. She, I believe it was early childhood or beginning of pre-youth. One place I heard she was 11, but most of the place they said at a young age. She she went and lived with the grandparents. And their grandparents, especially the grandfather, they were living in Ballart. And this place, the grandfather had a very special interest in science. And they say that even if you today, you go there, you can see her grandfather founded the Ballard Observatory. And if you visit it today, you can see a very special telescope, 26-inch telescope called the Baker. So he was very interested, and looks like Effie got his enthusiasm in science from his father. They saying that her aunt gave her a camera as a gift, and she got very interested and started taking pictures. It was so much, she was exploring the natures, she loved it, and she worked finally as a visual artist. Took pictures of the flower, and in 1914 she published Australian Wildflowers, small volume, and hand-painted photographs of local flora. She also was making toys as well, painting them. She had this habit of licking the painting brush, rather than putting it in the water. However, her life changed when she visited High Dawn, that the Australian couple who was traveling in Australia in 1922. She attended a lecture and fell in love with faith and became wholeheartedly accepted a Baha'i faith. Effie was the first female Baha'i in Australia. She found in Clara and High Dawn not only the spiritual parents, but also intimate friends. And they noticed that they noticed something happening in her health. And later on, they find out that the poor health that Effie has is because of the lead in her blood because of the paint. So with the help of Martha Ruth, they start doing some traveling. Effie wasn't the type of lecturer and talker, but she was helping with the background work for the teaching trip. They went to New Zealand and other places for teaching. However, because of her health, when especially Martha Ruth, find out about the journey of some friends in 1925 to Haifa, they encouraged her to go. So Effie goes to Holy Land and meets guardian, beloved Shoghi Effendi. During her 19 days pilgrimage, Effie visited shrines and met with greatest Holy Leaf and also other women in the Holy Family who they shares their recollections of a blessed beauty with her. She also was privileged to meet with Shoghi Effendi several times. And then Shoghi Effendi asked her to go to London. She was traveling for 3 months. Then the ladies, the Holy Family, asked her to come back. They asked permission from guardian. It was accepted. The permission was granted. She went back to Holy Land. This time she stayed in Holy Land for 11 and a half years. However, at this time, she was working with Guardian and taking pictures. She had a special mission to go in Haifa and Akko and capture the moments. Those moments that today is our way to look at those times. But that's not all. At the request of Guardian, this blue eyes, brown hair woman, petite woman, was missioned to go to Iran. Shoghi Effendi asked her to go to Iran and Baghdad and Soleimaniye, capture as much as you can pictures. So at that time, Guardian was translating the Dawnbreakers. Can you imagine that? Guardian advised her to buy some film rolls, and she did that in Haifa. But when she went to Iran, she found out that the government just banned the camera materials. So she was very happy to do that. It was in 1930, that 1930, when Guardian asked her to go to Iran and photograph and take photographs. She also asked her to safeguard them and to be very cautious of that. So she bought the rolls of film and photographic plates, as much as she could do for 2 cameras in Haifa, and here she goes. The courage that she traveled to Iran. I want to show you a picture in, she had to wear chador and to hide her identity and her cameras, of course. I will share some of the historical picture with you. But I'm so, look at this. Look at this lady. It's 1930 in Iran. As she traveled, she, that time, 1930, the persecution against the Baha'is were renewed. And as a woman, and especially Westerner, the danger tripled. She traveled 8 months by train, car, horse, and donkey. Through Soleimaniye, she traveled by donkey. Took over 1,000 pictures. However, now she has to develop these, somehow get it to Guardian. That was her action. She had to use the water of the well and create dark rooms and develop these pictures in absolute to hide from public. Other than that, she would have been captured as a spy, and all this picture would have been dismissed. And anyway, so she travels to villages, and her dark room was a place that she developed these things. A silent legacy of her services can be seen in pages of Dawnbreaker today. Let me share some of this picture with you. Probably it's about 1,000 pictures, right? But I just thought that I will go by one. This is the, do I have any more before? No. This is the Baha'u'llah's house in Tucker. She went to Mazandaran and other places. Look how beautiful this is. None of this we could have had. Can you guess where this is? Anybody can tell me? This is Soleimani, a mountain. This is where she went by donkey. This is where Baha'u'llah was 2 years. We had no idea the places. And this. At the martyrdom of Bob, sometimes we show this picture. Do you know that the day after she took this picture, that's why Guardian was asking her to get to Tabriz, to get this picture. This was demolished the day after. And this is the only picture we have of the martyrdom of Bob. You know this place. This is where Baha'u'llah indicated the shrine of Abdul Bab to Abdul Baha. The prison, Akka, Haifa, Carmel. That was Haifa, Carmel. She was asked to capture as many pictures as I can. I tell you, I lived in Iran till I was pre-youth. But this touched me. This is Siacha. This is the black pit. Black dungeon. Don't you feel like saying a prayer? I could have just heard when Abdul Baha and the Baha'u'llah and the friends there were repeating the prayer. God is sufficient. If it wasn't This is the where Mullah Hussein went. Remember when he went to this guest house? This is what Effie Baker has done for us. They call this call to action. So friends, capturing this, I like to end with special advice that we get. By the way, I have to tell you, Effie went back to Australia and served in temple and helped the friends. And it was years later that Ruhi Khanum sent her a letter and telling her how much they miss her. And he says,
Ruha, can you stop screen sharing? Thank you.
am I good?
Yes.
Thank you for reminding me. This is what Ruhi Khanum wrote her. Dear Effie, often Shoghi Effendi remarks that if you were in Haifa, you would take some wonderful photos. He considers no one has ever captured the beauty of the place as you did, and your photographs adorn his own rooms, the archives, and the mansion, just as they did when you were here. He hopes you are well and happy. He's delighted to see you so active serving the cause. And then he says with warm, loving Ruhiya Rabbani, and then Guardian also sent her a loving, that the deep appreciation of your loving contribution and your unforgettable services at the World Center of our beloved faith. Of my prayers for the success of every effort you exert for this mission. And then he says, your true brother, Shoghi. This is how people answer the call. We, the message of National Spiritual Assembly says, we, the children of the Master Abdul Baha, are the inheritors of his mission. What remained for us to do our part, to exert every effort to share the divine message to our fellow citizens, and to invite them to join hearts and hands with us in the glorious work of reconstructing society to a new design find in a spiritual truth. It requires us truly to believe that the cause of God belongs to all, to understand that it is the word of God that empowers the message of humanity and ensure their future. To Baha'u'llah, in Baha'u'llah, his revelation, his covenant, and his new world order. He also says that don't think this is any less than the others. The community of organized promoters of the faith of Baha'u'llah in the American continent, the spiritual descents of the dawnbreakers and heroic age, who by their death proclaimed the birth of the faith, must in turn usher in, not by their death, but through living sacrifice, that promised world order, the shell ordained to enshrine that priceless jewel, the world civilization of which the faith itself is the sole begetter. That is the mission. This is the call. Thank you for your time, and I'm looking forward to your reflections and continuing the conversation.
Thank you, Dr. Sabani. Does anyone have a question or a comment they'd like to make?
Okay. Hi, Ruah. I really like to listen to your talks. You always give some interested talks. I was really interested to learn about the first American Baha'i women. And I really liked, I saw the pictures and, for the first time. And also about Effie Baker, how she hide herself and travel on donkeys to capture these pictures for the Guardian. And those are the pictures that we can see them today. That was so nice. I really, enjoyed listening to your talks. Thank you so much.
My pleasure.
Thank you.
By the way, if you like to know more about especially the first African Americans believers, there is a book, The Lights of Spirit. And there is a lot of information there. I downloaded and studied it many times, not many times, a couple of times. And it is so beautiful to see the courage and the way it wasn't easy. Their task was as hard as Effie Baker.
Yeah.
At the time, imagine the conditions of society, yet they knew that the destiny of America, according to Abdul Baha, depends how they paved the way for the humanity, for American society to learn. They brought the faith to their family.
Yeah.
And the generations. Maybe some of you know some families in Atlanta. I really wanted to include some families in Atlanta, and the timing I could not mention Harriet and Dorothy but I'm a student. I love to learn and I love to hear if you know. So we mention and pay respect to them as well.
That's right. Mm-hmm.
Any other questions or comments?
If you are on mute, many of you are mute. I see you're trying to say, but I see also you are mute, so be careful.
Hello, dear Ruha. Not only do I appreciate everything that Bibi, is that how you say your name?
Effie.
Huh? Bibi?
I don't know.
Is that how
Yasmin.
you say it?
She's actually Yasmin.
Oh,
okay. But she said so many things that I was thinking, but the other thing is that the reverence and the pure joy as you relate these stories. Anybody can read this and say, oh, gee, that's nice, but you have such devoted reverence as you read this. It's almost like we're there with the Guardian as he received these photos. Your joy is so prevalent, and it touches my heart. And so, thank you.
Quickly. Yes. It's thank you, but it is genuine. It's genuine. When I was in Cameroon, I was a very young girl, and I know how we face challenges. We face challenges in life. So if you do ever book 4 and try to include Effie Baker's story. There are books on her. There are a lot of reference, more than 7 minutes that I did. It's a great learning. She died just in 1968. So it wasn't a long time ago. She was in Sydney, Australia. I'm sure many friends, they have seen her and have good memories of her. I want to share this at the end if you don't have a question. Another thing that happened when Abdul Baha was in New York, you heard about the Feast of Unity. I was researching this. I lived in New York 6-7 years, and I used to go to this at the end of the June, the last weekend. You got anybody knows about Teaneck picnic, the picnic that Abdul Baha did?
Mhm.
Yeah, so that means I have to come and tell you if you don't say. So what happened when Abdul Baha says that we need to have a feast, a picnic, and the place that he thought of belongs to this wealthy Baha'i, so-called white Baha'i. Automatically, the friends, the African American friends, because of the established culture that was at that time, they thought that means we are not going to this feast. When Abdul Baha felt that, told them, this is the exact reason that you should go. You know, this feast, Abdul Baha, it is in Teaneck, New Jersey, Inglewood, and he went and greeted everybody. And there are one picture that touches me a lot. Abdul Baha sitting and the friends are around them. There are two beautiful children one side and two beautiful children on the other side. And Abdul Baha's hands is like embracing this for two on the right are African American, two on the left are white children. Abdul Baha just embraced them, and the way he looked at them, the way you look at the picture and just follow the way tenderly, lovingly he embraced them. That is how we should embrace our society. If you have time, learn about this Unity Feast. They do it every year, by the way. If you were in New York, New Jersey. Okay, Stephen, I'm minding my time.
No, we still have time. Don't worry. I thought I would add, because when you're talking about the sort of dual message that Abdul Baha brought, on the one hand is notice of this great destiny that America had, and on the other hand, the warning that in order to fulfill that destiny, it had to abandon its vices, chiefly, of course, the evil of racism. And it kept bringing me back to the beginning of the advent of divine justice, when Shoghi Effendi warns the American believers and says to them, because he knew Americans had this sort of American exceptionalism idea of the greatness of America, and he said, you may think that you've been chosen for this because America is so great, but that isn't it. He says, just as Baha'u'llah came to Persia because it was the darkest place in the world at the time, so Abdul Baha gave this destiny to America because precisely of how far it needed to come, that it was because of its lack of virtue, basically, that it was given this mission, that to prove that by the agency of the faith, that the people of America could overcome all the problems that plagued their society, basically, and become a spiritual example. And I do think it's one of the interesting, I don't know, and very pertinent parts of the teachings for us today.
Right. The three main thing that actually has been mentioned in the message is that they have to purge themselves from the attachment to materialism. Mm-hmm. I'm sure you are taking book 13, 1, 2, and to some degrees also book 14. We are just doing that. We see the materialism, the way that not that we don't, the way he also appreciate the technology and science. And then the moral compass, the morality that we should be reminded. Then the most challenging issue also that they advised how we do. And people, this Miss Jackson and Harriet and Dorothy, Louis Gregory, and others that you can see, how they arose and how they thought the faith. Have you ever traveled to Augusta? Can you show me hand if anybody travels to Augusta?
I've traveled through Augusta, if that counts.
Well, you know, Dr. Baghdadi buried in Augusta. And my son just had a position in University of Augusta, MCG. And I went there, and of course I was studying about him, and that the recommendation that he should go and visit the gravesite. And when I met the beautiful, awesome secretary of the LSA and they accompanied me in the devotional that we did on his gravesite, find out that Dr. Baghdadi and Louis Gregory were such good friends. And one from one side of the world, the other one is one side of the world. What was the commonality? Their passion that Guardian wanted in them, Abdul Baha wanted in them, to face the most challenging issue. And I was so humble. You know, Dr. Baghdadi died when he was 52. And at his burial on his graveside, I was numb how they traveled during that time, desperately trying to spread this oneness of mankind. A call to action.
All right. Do we have any more questions or thoughts? All right. If not, then let me take this moment to thank everyone who made this all possible. That includes our speaker, our volunteer readers, Barbara Hennix, who, without whom none of us would keep going forward, the spiritual assemblies of the Baha'is of South DeKalb and Sandy Springs, and of course, all of you who are here, because without all of you, this wouldn't happen. Before we finish, let me make a few quick announcements. Today's program has been recorded and posted to the YouTube channel entitled South DeKalb Baha'i Unity Center, and you can view it there and invite others to view it as well. For members of the Baha'i Faith, you are warmly encouraged to make a financial contribution to the South DeKalb Baha'i Fund, the Sandy Springs Baha'i Fund, and the National Baha'i Fund through the online contribution system at ocs.baha'i.us, or to mail a check to the Baha'i Unity Center at 2370 Wesley Chapel Road, Decatur, Georgia, 30035. So I'm Stephen Boynton, and until next time, stay safe and well. We're going to end now with a closing prayer for the departed. And I can read that unless there's someone else who would like to. Does anyone else want the honor today? If not, then I'll read it for us. So. O thou forgiving Lord, although some souls have spent the days of their lives in ignorance and become estranged and contumacious, yet with one wave from the ocean of thy forgiveness, all those encompassed by sin will be set free. Whomsoever thou willest, thou makest a confidant, and whosoever is not the object of thy choice is accounted as a transgressor. Shouldst thou deal with us with justice, we are all naught but sinners and deserving to be shut out from thee. But shouldst thou uphold mercy, every sinner would be made pure, and every stranger a friend. Bestow then thy forgiveness and pardon, and grant thy mercy unto all. Thou art the forgiver, the light giver, and the omnipotent. Thank you, everyone. Alawapa.
Thank you, Ruha. Thank you.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Alawapa.
Hello.
Thank you. Alawapa.
Alawapa. Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
Bye, Yasmin.
Bye.